Save the penny, because the penny will make you have millions.
Bentleys, Range Rovers, and million-dollar homes. This was the lifestyle of a man many viewed as an icon, mentor, and visionary businessman in Kenya. This man's name was Christopher John KIRUBI. He was an industrialist and one of Kenya's wealthiest men, the net worth of a whopping $300 million. At the time of his peak, Chris was second only to the Kenyatta family, which has a net worth of about $500 million today. The family of Kenya's first founding father and first president, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. Chris was born on 20th August 1941 in Murang'a County to two very poor parents who died when he was still very young. It is at this point that then Chris, who was still studying and now an orphan, decided to get a job to support his siblings and himself, which he worked mostly during the holidays. Chris studied until graduation, after which he landed a job as a salesman selling gas cylinders for the international petroleum giant Shell company. He went to homes selling and fixing gas for people, earning what he described as pennies that could not buy anyone dinner. He attended the French school Kamusinga and later had his tertiary education at Handels University in Sweden and a master's degree in Harvard Business School. He also attended INSEAD Institute in France, and much later in life, in acknowledgement for his contributions to the field of entrepreneurship in Kenya, Dr. KIRUBI was conferred with the honorary philosophical doctorate in entrepreneurship by the Swiss Management Graduate School in 2005. According to reports, Chris divorced his wife when he was only 50 years back in 1999, and he never remarried. Dr. KIRUBI and his wife were parents to two, a daughter and a son. His divorce, he remained single, co-parenting his children with her. He did describe marriage as a prison. Since the divorce, Chris KIRUBI's ex-wife has managed to live a low-key life with very few details being known about her. This is even though she only retired a few years ago. Just like their mother, Chris KIRUBI's children and grandchildren have managed to live a quiet life, hence failing to use the mogul's fame and money to attract public attention. His firstborn daughter, Mary Ann Wambui Musangi, is a businesswoman and an entrepreneur who manages her father's art and business empires as well as her own businesses. The mother of two, the managing director of Harco Industries, sits on several boards of her father's company. Some of the companies in which Mary Ann sits as a board member include Sidian Bank, UAP Investment Limited, Sheraton Rongai, Wolf Advertising and Marketing, International House Limited, Traden Limited, and Harco Tiger Brands. She also owns her own businesses including Secret Garden, Continental Restaurant Cafe, Allpass Steakhouse and Grill, just to name a few. The 48-year-old holds a bachelor's degree in international business management and a master's in management. Despite venturing into business, Ann led a low-key life. Just like her brother Robert KIRUBI has led a life from the limelight. He lives in Belgium with his family, and contrary to his sister, he does not work at any of his father's companies. According to his father, Robert works as a DHL Services Logistics as the head of Global Customer Program. In an interview with Churchill show host Daniel Dambo, Chris KIRUBI noted that his son refused to work for him and chose to work in Belgium. He speculated that the son might be getting good pay in Belgium, which is why he declined to work for him. However, during his burial, a third child showed up, Fiona Farha KIRUBI. Fiona, who admitted to having a strained relationship with his father, told mourners that she eventually came to terms with her heritage. She was mentioned in KIRUBI's 1996 will, where Robert KIRUBI and daughter Mary Ann KIRUBI were bequeathed 80% of the estate, while Fiona got only $4 million. But Robert and Mary Ann amicably agreed to give Fiona 9.95% of the estate, which they split equally from their shares, meaning her share would equal $2.8 million. She holds Masters of Art, MA, in Islamic Finance from the Global University of Islamic Finance and a Bachelor of Business Administration, BBA, from the American University in Dubai. She also holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Finance and Management from the Richmond University in United Kingdom. In the early 60s and 70s, Chris did actually work as an administrator at Kenya National Transport Company, KENATCO, a lucrative transportation company owned by the government. Then, in 1971, KIRUBI began buying rundown buildings in the city of Nairobi and Mombasa, renovating them and flipping these renovated structures or renting them out. He said that back in the days, buildings were not expensive as they are now, and you could actually afford them with the help of a friend from the bank. He also began acquiring prime land in and around Nairobi and proceeded to erect rentals and other commercial properties. Using loans from Kenyan financial institutions, it's important to note that Chris KIRUBI acquired International House from an insurance company he worked for selling policies. It closed its branch in Kenya and offered him support and bank relationship to help him acquire the building. International House is a high-yielding commercial property in Nairobi's central business district, renting out offices to companies and firms such as Richest Insurance and Centum Investments. As years went by, in 1998, Chris KIRUBI acquired for an undisclosed sum 100% of Falcon Industries, a Kenyan subsidiary of a Dutch trading house. KIRUBI expanded the company from a distributor of American and British brands to a leading indigenous manufacturer of consumer products, including TCB and Palmas, the best-selling hair and skincare products in the countries. In 2008, Falcon formed a joint venture with Tiger Brand, one of South Africa's largest food manufacturers. Revenues of Falcon Tiger Industries were in excess of $33 million in 2010. It does employ close to 700 people as of now. Also in 1998, it's worth to note that he purchased Capital FM, a floundering local radio station that was neglected and at the brink of failure because of mismanagement and the lack of care to handle loans and put all the necessary management needs. He said, "I didn't just want to acquire the station solely for the financial dividends it was eventually going to give me. I just wanted to love the business. I wanted to understand the business from the very basics. So I approached the managers and told them that I wanted to host a rock show. I asked them to teach me how to become a disc jockey." KIRUBI not only learned how to disc jockey, but he also began hosting a weekly rock show on the station. The public went wild, ratings shot through the roof, and the station is now the largest in Kenya in terms of listenership. Over 3 million people tune in every day, and it has outshone competition for several years running straight. From these ventures and clever investment, Chris became extremely filthy rich. He even at one time in an interview said, "In a way, I feel like I am a part of every Kenyan's life. 95% of all Kenyans or anyone who comes to Kenya has at some point used a product that is manufactured by me." It's also worth noting that he has also been a recipient of numerous awards. Some of the notable ones include the Elder of the Burning Spear in 1999, Insignia of Chevalier of the Legion of Honor in 2015, which was awarded by the French government, and Honor of the Grand Medal 2015 awarded by the Ghanaian government. In terms of business and big moves, Centum announced recently, which is a company that Chris owns a very big stake of 30.9%, that it was going to cede some shares to Old Mutual. Centum Investment had a 58.3% stake in Two Rivers. The mall, said to be the biggest by size, 62,000 square meters in Kenya, sits on 100 acres of Limuru Road, not far from the leafy suburbs of Nyari, Gigiri, Muthaiga and Runda. The first phase costs over 25.2 billion Kenyan shillings. It hosts a 5-star hotel, residential apartments and an office park, and houses international anchor stores. Chris held the largest individual stake in Centum Investments, a private equity firm listed both on Nairobi and Uganda stock exchanges, the recent market capitalization of 92 million. Centum has one of the most attractive investment portfolios in the region, including substantial stakes in Coca-Cola, Safaricom, the Kenya's leading telecom company, and Kenya Commercial Bank. Chris KIRUBI was also the largest individual shareholder in UAP Insurance, East Africa's third largest insurance company. His role models in business were Bill Gates, Richard Branson, and Donald Trump. KIRUBI said that this man inspired him and made him believe he could achieve anything he sets his mind to. And a fun fact, KIRUBI bought his suit from Italy. His suits were made by tailors he knew personally. Dr. KIRUBI had invested in the manufacturing, media, real estate, insurance, and investment sectors of our economy. He was recognized as one of Kenya's first indigenous manufacturers, having entered the manufacturing sector in the 70s. For his many years of service, formerly as chairman of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. Not only that, but it's also worth noting that Chris sat on the high table for many big companies in the region. He was the chairman of Coca-Cola Nairobi Bottlers, DHL Worldwide Express, Capital FM, International House Limited, and Smart Application International, and among others. He was the deputy chairman of Bear East Africa Limited. In public, KIRUBI cut the image of a serious businessman, philanthropist, a flamboyant street talker who never shied away from taking a stand on any public disclosure, even when it was about him. For instance, the businessman always fought off allegations that part of his wealth came from plundering state farms such as Kenya National Transport Company, Kendatco, which he was an admin back in the 70s, and Uchumi Supermarket, where he served in senior position. He actually said the Uchumi case was fabricated. It was weak because it was instigated by powerful people in the President Mwai Kibaki government. It was somehow allowed to continue. He said in 2014, in the hallowed boardrooms of Kenya's top corporations and in the corridors of political power and influence, the one name that has popped up more than any other in the past years, especially when the subject is a multi-billion shilling public or private sector deal, is Chris KIRUBI. He was still adding to his stake in the firm to the end, having announced on March 23rd last year that he would build his Centum stake 9.99%. By the end of December that year, he had added 5.75 million shares. He was among a select group billionaires from central Kenya who made money in the early decades of Kenya's independence, setting themselves up as pioneer industrialists, bankers, and stock market barons. At the time of his death, KIRUBI was most visibly linked to Nairobi Securities Exchange listed investment firm Centum, where he was the top owner with a 30.9% stake valued at more than 3.3 billion. KIRUBI loved music, and for a long time he served as one of DJs of Capital FM. He was known to his fans for his opening line, "This is DJ CK on the Fuse." KIRUBI has built his wealth over time by buying stakes in different companies while exiting others at a gain. KIRUBI in December 2018 sold his Bic stationery, lighters and shavers franchise to the French multinational Société Bic, getting an initial $5.7 million. He later got an additional $2.8 million as part of his staggered payment following the sale. Cumulatively, payouts to KIRUBI on the Bic transaction stood at $10.6 million at the end of June last year and was on course to receive a balance of $4.9 million by the end of 2019. He has also done some of the largest corporate deals in Kenyan economy, including sales at Two Rivers, UAP and Kenya Wine Agencies Limited. But sometimes deals were not for money. The billionaire investor in September 2015 bought 2.1 million shares of Kenya Airways shortly after the airline announced what was then record loss of $210 million. He said, "There are no returns. I'm just showing my support for Kenya Airways," he said, imploring more Kenyans to buy the stock for patriotism. Believe it or not, at 79, Chris was still building his dream house. He built his official residence, where he eventually died 30 years ago when the area had only white settlers. Roger Whittaker, who sang "My Land is Kenya," parents lived across the bottom of his plot. It's also worth noting that the French private jet manufacturer Falcon offered Chris a $33 million private jet that they were targeting him as one of Kenya's elite to actually purchase the plane. Whether he bought it or not, it's not clear. But one thing for sure is that Chris did love the finer things in life. And Chris was asked in an interview with the Business Daily about why he worked at his age when he already had all he wanted. He said, "No, I haven't. I'm sure in your pocket you have one of my products, a medical card, a smart card. There is no medical insurer that isn't using my smart application. My ICT company has nearly 2 million subscribers. I look forward to having 4 million, and I'm sure by the time I have 4 million, I'll want to have 6 million more. Why? Because I contribute to people's wellness," Chris KIRUBI said. On the other hand, he had been part of every foreign trip former President Uhuru Kenyatta made in pursuit of business and investment, including to South Africa, China, and the United States. Aside from his personal work, Dr. KIRUBI had been involved extensively with several African governments. He served on the National Economic and Social Council, which was responsible for crafting Kenya's current blueprint for growth, Vision 2030, under President Kibaki's regime. He also worked with the government of Ghana as a board member of the Investors Advisory Council, the Ghanaian Honorary Consul General in Kenya from 2000 to 2008. He was a passionate ambassador for the Kenya country brand and served as the chairperson Brand Kenya board from March 2016 to December 2017 when he resigned due to his illness. In November 2017, the tycoon flew to the US for specialized treatment after being diagnosed with colon cancer. At the time, he said the disease had been detected early enough to allow successful treatment. In an interview with the Business Daily in January last year, he said it had taken him many months of lying in bed sick to believe that God is the most powerful, that he was no longer afraid of death. Unfortunately, Chris didn't live long enough to actualize most of his dreams. Chris died on 14th June 2021 after a long battle with colon cancer at his home. He is remembered and cherished by many as a business mogul, Kenya's finest industrialist, and a selfless man who served his country with might, wit, and sheer determination. He inspired many youths by actively engaging with them on Twitter and his rock show at Capital FM. He will forever be remembered as an icon to many in Kenya, Africa, and the world. I've been your host, Ian Best Smith. Please subscribe for more. Thank you.